Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
So I decided that I would want to get into film industry and do something that was creative in nature. I realized that after my engineering and an MBA, there was no chance my parents were, they didn't even know that I was, planning that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations in Quarantine. We are currently in the lockdown 3.0 and are continuing to create videos for you guys. Today we have Sarthak Dasgupta with us, the director of the film The Great Indian Butterfly and the music teacher, which is currently streaming on Netflix. Thank you very much, Sarthak, for doing this for us and taking
Thank you so much
for us. Sarthak, you grew up in Bombay and you did your engineering in Bombay. At what point did you think that, I want to do an MBA?
So immediately after my engineering, I had joined a software development company in Bombay. This software export processing zone, which is still there in Bombay, called SEBS, and there were lots of companies who were doing software for companies abroad, and I was, developing, writing codes in Unix and COBOL those days. It was to get out of job and again become a student. That could be. I don't remember now why exactly I did it, but I am glad that I did it.
Okay, and was it like a peer pressure as well when you choose finance? Because finance is something that a lot of people are afraid of.
So the main streams were finance and marketing, and everyone was doing marketing, and I felt that marketing was something that I could probably imbibe. So I generally end up choosing the difficult. I look back and I feel that I was not so clear about what I wanted, which is why I kept searching in my heart, and when I finally found it, I chose to do that. I was not really going for money at that point of time. Never in my life I have. Of course, you feel the pinch once in a while, but that's not what ticks me. So even when I was studying and when I got into MBA, when I was looking at career as such.
After your college, you joined an organization named SEBI. Everybody knows about SEBI. And how was it like? How did you like that job that you took up?
I in fact loved my SEBI job. SEBI was not so much paying because it was a government job at the end of the day, but it was a good brand because those days Economic Times used to be pink in color and every day front page would be SEBI news. SEBI was so active at that point of time, and then suddenly you get a job from SEBI. It feels like, you're with a good brand kind of a thing at that point.
Right.
So I joined SEBI and I joined in the investigations department. So those days, even in the bourses, people would be using hand, trading. So your online trading happened while I was still there and I was just about to leave. Online trading was slowly phased in at that point of time. So we would still go to the Bombay Stock Exchange and into the pit where people would be standing and doing hand gestures and making sales and buying and selling. So what we would do is we would see suddenly, some script pricing or just dropping or something just rising, and we would just latch onto that. We would go to the stock exchange and ask for data, and they would send us, boxes and boxes of, line printer printouts, like thick things. Then we would have to take like few days to sort through that and see at 11 o'clock this particular broker sold and this guy bought those shares, and again they came back, and how they manipulated the prices and how they then suddenly sold everything. So those were the kind of investigations that we did. SEBI was also developing, learning. There were new rules coming every day. So it was a very interesting place. All that was happening, but by then my bug had kind of already bitten me.
You talked about the bug, and what was that bug? Where did it all start?
Those days, the SIBM campus was not where it is right now. Now it's a very big, huge campus in Pune. Those days, it used to be very close to the Film and Television Institute campus in FTII campus in Pune. Being a Bengali, you generally have this affinity to suss out more Bengalis around you. So I found some more Bengalis who were studying in the Film and Television Institute. One of them is a very popular person today. He's called Pritam. He's the music director. Pritam was in FTII and I was in SIBM around that time, and he was the main point of contact So I used to spend half my time in FTII campus and half my time in my campus. And I would hear stories of what happens in film industry, kya hua. And then in the Mondays, I would go back and start, writing my reports and investigation reports and all that. And I would imagine, shit, what am I doing? This is not, that life is more interesting, what they are doing, though it's much more difficult. So I decided that I would want to get into film industry and do something that was creative in nature. I realized that after my engineering and an MBA, there was no chance my parents were, they didn't even know that I was, planning that. I was the only child, and when it happened, finally, when they came to me, it was a huge shock for them. And so for me, anyway, there was no question of going back to a film school to study any particular line. Again, I chose the difficult, which seemed easy that time, that, direction is something probably that you can imbibe, and you don't really need to, go through, because cinematography or sound or editing needs training. Direction is something that you could probably imbibe, and writing.
Absolutely.
So I chose to think that, being a director is probably what I would enjoy being. And so that was the bug. And then that bug kind of started expanding inside.
So a lot of people talk about this thing called finding your calling. Was it the case for you as well? Like, did you find your call through these visits that you used to do to your FTII? Or you met someone that you remember had a very hard impact on you?
I wanted to dabble in creating something. So I used to started watching films also with an idea of not being entertained, but finding out, was there anything that I could learn into. Even then, when I didn't even know what to look for to learn, even direction, you need an eye to learn. Or you need some kind of a mental syllabus to know, okay, these are the things that I'm looking for. I didn't even know that. It was that basic, white canvas for me. And but I just loved the thought of me telling stories on screen.
You joined Subhash Chandra as his EA for some time.
Yes.
What was that all about? And was it something like a conscious choice that you did? No, if I do this job, I'll learn a lot, and that's how I'll start.
And I used to, constantly pester my bosses in SEBI. So some of them had, filmy connections. But one of them, one day suddenly called me. I get a call on my intercom and said, Sarthak, Mil. So I went and, yes, sir. He said that, I met Subhash in a flight. So you go and meet him. I said, Subhash, who's Subhash, sir? He says, Subhash Chandra, ZTV. I said, oh, okay. So what do I do, sir? So he said, no, during the lunchtime, you just go. I've told him that he'll come. He'll be there. You just meet him. So during lunchtime, I took a cab from Nariman Point and went straight to Worli. And I went to the office of Subhash Chandra Goyal, and I told his secretary that, I have come to meet. He said, who, what? He didn't have any idea. In a gap of half an hour, 2 offer letters come, and one from Shogun Films and one from CTV. And paying the same amount of money, and so that's when I also told my parents that, look, you know what, I am going to be making films. He said, what nonsense, what is this? I said, no, look, I've got offer letters and all that. So I had to explain them what was happening in my head. And as his EA, I was not there as his EA for a very long time. It was a very short-lived thing, but I had such funny stories of being his EA. He was such an amazing person. But within 4 months, I got suddenly, not only permanent, but also doubly promoted with a cabin and a car and everything. And I was made a creative head and a strategic planning head. So creative head, this is how the first thing, that little bit of creative thing, kind of started coming to me.
Right.
Of a group company called Asian Sky Shop, that they used to do this teleshopping network called Asian Sky Shop. I went there, I joined that, and I was also helping the marketing, whatever I could. So my filmmaking happened on a teleshopping network set up to understand how to take shots and, how to light and whatever. And that was the beginning.
Your filmmaking not only happens in a film institute, and the same happens in the case of a B school maybe. Like, you don't have to go to a B school in order to
you don't.
Become a great manager or a CEO of a brilliant company.
It helps to be in a film school because it has its plus and it has got its negatives also. The pluses are this, that, it's a very compact education. You get to understand a lot which has taken me years to figure things out, number one. Number two, you are made to watch a lot of films. You have professors who are there to explain you how to the film appreciation bit. Why is something so great? In a classroom of film students, and if you ask me to take a lecture, I'll fumble because I'll not know, because my everything is so unstructured and intuitive, because I do not know where to begin and where to end. So it helps to be in a film school, but also it is not mandatory, because here is an example, and there are many such examples who have not gone to a film school and become very successful directors. That's one. Two, when you ask B schools, I feel that it's not mandatory, but being technically educated, like an engineering kind of a degree, which is a very compressed 4-year hardcore stuff, helps. Business school helps. And if you can kind of also have a psychology, something that teaches you psychology, helps in life.
When did it strike you? At what point that, I am capable enough now to make my own film? And how did that process start?
This is how it happened, that, when I started getting bored in Asian Sky Shop after 2 years of doing the same thing, I felt that, I needed to tell bigger stories, longer stories. I started, taking baby steps in writing fiction. I just quit one day and I just gave a resignation. I came and I told, my parents were there, and I just told them, look, finally, I've resigned, and hereafter I'll be only making films.
We see this a lot in a lot of films, right? Like Ranbir Kapoor just out of nowhere gives this resignation and then chases his dreams. Was it film-like for you as well?
But yeah, when I look back, when I'm telling about it to someone like you or anywhere else, it feels like very dramatic. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of, it really hits you. It's really hard. So, for example, when I finally, served my notice period, and I was actually sitting at home on a Monday, till the last day I was in office, and today onwards I've given away my car and to the company back, and I'm sitting at home, and I do not know what next. So by then I had already started also calling. I had given my resignation, and I knew very soon I would be sitting at home. So I had started calling up a lot of producers and directors, asking for, so apprenticeship or some kind of a third assistant, or to be an assistant with someone. And I realized that no one kind of entertained, because they didn't see any kind of synergy with what I had to offer and what they wanted probably. So very soon it all went dry. Initially they would not answer, then someone would answer, they'll take time. And so after this whole process of, going back and forth with few of them, and then finally everything dried up, but there was nothing. So on one particular Monday, I sat at home and I did not know what was going to happen to my life. Did I do the right thing? Did I do the wrong thing? All my other colleagues, my MBA friends, batchmates were already rising. They were all in different jobs. My colleagues in my last office, in SEBI, people were rising, people were, traveling, and I was suddenly stuck and I did not know what next. In fact, my first telefilm that I produced had Irfan and Vidya Balan in it, called The Violin Sonata. It was made for Zee Rishte. Unfortunately, by the time I was ready with that particular film, they had shut the slot.